Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have real estate entrepreneur, house flipper, large-scale renovations, redevelopment, many different hats. We've got Rachel Chwaszczewski. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. How you
I
doing?
always like to start off, pleasure to have you. I always like to start off at the top of the show by asking folks how they got into the real estate space.
Yeah, so mine was a job that I got right out of high school while I was going to college as a copy girl at a title company, but it was during the refi boom of the 90s. And so very quickly they needed more help, and they offered to send me to school to become a licensed title officer. And I went, and then I ended up working for that company for 12 years before I moved to the Carolinas. So that's where I got my start. And during that time, I was exposed to flippers and redevelopers before it was sort of like a national pastime for the United States. They kind of
Yeah.
came in and showed us, from a title perspective, the deals, and I would see their HUDs and all that kind of stuff. So it piqued my interest.
Did you know right then and there that you were going to make a career out of it?
I knew that I was going to do something in it, like real estate related. I did when we still lived in New Jersey. I got my real estate license. Sales was not my strong suit, so I ended up not sticking with that. But I really love design, and so they started mentoring me and answering questions for me and looking at deals with me. And so I knew that I was going to dabble in it. I don't think that I thought it was going to be what it became, which is a whole lifestyle. So.
Do you remember that first deal? Was it a flip? Was it a rental? What was your first deal on your own?
My very first deal was actually our primary residence. We bought a foreclosure and did a 203K loan. This was with my now husband, but back then was my boyfriend. And we bought it and renovated the whole thing. And we ended up in that particular neighborhood being one of the highest, the actual highest sale in the neighborhood when we sold. And we realized that between my husband, who was in construction, and myself, we had a very good handle on a lot of the areas that we needed to be proficient in for, the housing industry and being real estate investors.
So you had a pre-foreclosure. Walk us through that deal. That's an interesting way to acquire a property. That sounds like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. It was an actual foreclosure that HUD had, and we
Okay.
bought it. We bought it off their list with a realtor who gave us great advice. He actually did primarily foreclosures and worked with investors such as ourselves. And it was a really interesting time and a great learning experience for us.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So you got that first property. Did you have to do any renovations to it? Was it already the condition that you wanted it to be?
No, it was a full on, I'm not going to say gut job because we left the drywall up, but the bathrooms, kitchens, flooring, paint. We refinished a basement that had not been touched since like the 1950s. So it was a pretty good, healthy renovation for our first time out of the gate.
And so you do that deal, and then it's your home, right? So you're getting a taste for it. What was the next step for you? Were you thinking, I'm just gonna start being a flipper? This was great.
Yeah, actually, someone approached us. We did really well, and the end product turned out really well. And we had someone approach us and asked to partner with us, which we did. And it was sort of like an equity deal. We had part of it and the money, and we were running it, and he was supposed to be doing the work. It did not unfold the way that we had hoped. He sort of disappeared, and we had to start hiring other people. So that was a huge, very, very good learning experience for us out of the gate. Ultimately, it was fine, and we did well, and things sort of the ship righted at the end of the day, and we did sell for a profit. But it was a huge learning experience for us.
So what was it like scaling this business? Are you thinking, well, we're going to be full-time flippers? Are you doing it part-time? Are you constantly looking for opportunities? Are you making a bunch of offers? How are you acquiring deals?
Yeah, so at this point we do a lot of spec houses. We do like scattered infill lots. And we build new. My husband is a licensed builder in the Carolinas. And so, but for many, many years we did do just flips or additions and things of that nature. And so yeah, we just hustled. We hustled all the time to find deals and make sure our pipeline was full. And then our area is insulated from a lot of the other things that are happening in the rest of the country and from the real estate market. And so we have enjoyed extended periods of time where the market has just continued to grow. And we started seeing an influx in particular areas that we were doing renovations of other investors. And so we would like find another area and start, like the process all over again. And then we realized because we do have the construction piece, we decided that finding infill lots was something that was going to allow us to scale quicker and easier.
So you scaled to the point where you're finding infill lots. By the way, infill lots, brief description for someone who may be ignorant to the term. What is an infill lot?
So an infill lot is basically a lot in an existing subdivision or community where a home may have been before and was torn down, or for whatever reason the lot never got developed, but it's in an existing neighborhood, established neighborhood.
And so these are going to have, city water and sewer connections and electrical connections and be basically primed and ready for someone to develop property on.
Access to them, they're not always there. Like you have to pay tap fees to get the water and sewer runs specifically to that lot. But yes, the access typically is a lot easier for the infrastructure pieces when you're inside that neighborhood.
And so before you were doing the infill lots, when you were doing the flips and doing additions and so on and so forth, were you finding these deals through word of mouth? Were you going off market for these deals? Were you making a bunch of offers on the MLS? How were you scaling to the point where you are today?
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Really all of the above. In the beginning, the very first house that we bought, our attorney actually was trying to unload. It was a home that was abandoned. And he offered it to us for $5,000 because it was basically like a tear down. There were squatters. And so that kind of kicked it off. And then once we started that home and people saw sort of the response that we got and what we sold it for, more people started kind of seeking us out and saying, we have this property. Are you interested in buying it? And signs. We always had signs in the front of our jobs that we were doing. We got actually a lot of homes via the
Nice.
signs, like people just driving by and stopping and saying, "Hey, I have this," or "My mom's selling this." And then yeah, MLS, of course, and then just word of mouth.
So you and your husband, who is there one person who does the marketing, one person who specializes in one thing, or what's the roles like in the business relationship there?
Yeah, we definitely have delineated roles. On the front end, from an investment perspective, we both sort of find them and decide this is something that is going to be part of our pipeline. And then from there, because of my background, I take over and I get, the deal closed, I get financing in place, and then I hand it over to our construction company, and then the construction company builds it out. And then when it's done and it's ready to hit the market, it gets turned back over to me, and I work with our team of realtors to get it listed and sold and, attend closing and do all that kind of stuff.
So, when I think about scaling a business, I think about having strategic partners. I think what better partner than maybe in the same house, family, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of people sometimes struggle with that. Did you know when you met your husband that this is maybe a potential business partner, or was this something that came along the way, when you realized, well, we did the flip, that worked out pretty well. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, so in the very, very beginning when we first met, yes, we kind of knew that we were always going to probably dabble in it. And at that time we both had 9 to 5 jobs. He actually was the superintendent for a national flooring company, and he oversaw the installation of whole developments. And so with our backgrounds and our experience levels, we kind of always knew that we would be in real estate. It wasn't until after the recession, actually, though, because during that time it was very difficult. He was um, a superintendent for a national builder. He got laid off.
Yeah.
I had a new construction related business. I lost the business literally overnight. And so at that time, we were just doing flips, and they were like higher end flips. And we decided after the recession that we were going to switch our strategy, our exit strategy, just like everything we were doing. We went into rentals, whereas before we did not have them. And we just really started to kind of dig in and say, we think we can do this. So I was doing it. He was still working in corporate, and I was doing it on my own. And then after a couple of years, we were able to take him out of his corporate job, and he came on full time.
That's the goal for, I think, a lot of real estate entrepreneurs is, well, how do I find someone where I can be like, hey, take a look at this deal. Take a look at this deal.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? This is where I'm thinking we make the offer at. Because I feel like 50% of the reason why people have business partners is just because they don't want to be the only one with the thought. It's like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Let me bounce this off somebody. I've seen a lot of people. I think you have a title background, right? So people with a title background, my personal mentor invests in, fix and flip properties, and his wife is a title officer. So, I think about these opportunities, and I think, how do we all get so lucky here? So, congrats on having that part of your life there. It's really a blessing. Scaling to where you are today with the infill lots, like you previously said, with infill lots, you're talking about undeveloped uh, areas maybe within a subdivision, but for whatever reason, just not built out. How are you finding these lots? Is it based on your knowledge of the area? Is there a way that people can find infill lots in general?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both, right? Like we understand our market intimately where we are. We have partnerships with local housing agencies that have land banks, and sometimes they're unable to build on the lots for a variety of reasons. And they'll come to us and say, we have, these couple of lots. Are you interested in buying them? And generally we are. There's not much that scares us off. For people who are looking to get into it, finding those nonprofit housing agencies is a great way to kind of get into the market. And they're generally in the areas that are affordable to get into with the housing agencies. And then, of course, your municipality generally sells off things. And yeah, word of mouth. MLS. People offer us stuff now because we're known in the community. But yeah, there's lots of different ways to find them. And then there's always just driving the areas, which we still do actively, especially if we're going into a new neighborhood or a new area. We always drive it to understand, who the demographic's going to be that we're building for, what price point, all of the different things that go into making that decision on the floor plan and the finishes and pricing.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
I suspect there's a lot of maybe probate with these types of things. Is that common or is that not common?
Yeah, that is another avenue, probate or, tax liens, things of that nature. That's specifically in our area, there is a window that they can come back and redeem. So that's not something that we actively do, but I know that other people have had success in it.
Okay, so a lot of the sellers that you're dealing with, maybe, for whatever reason, a home was taken down, who knows, fire. Do any of the builders still own these lots? I mean, who's the typical owner of an infill lot?
Yeah, it's usually an heir, as you mentioned, someone who's trying to sell it or an older person, or the municipality. We've had like code enforcement. They have homes where they're just constantly at, and they'll come to people like us and say, this home, really needs to be torn down, or the seller can't do the upkeep. Are you interested in purchasing it? And we'll say yes, and they'll connect us with the owner, and then we'll work out a deal with the owner directly. So
Now, if someone, I'm a wholesaler by trade, so I'm thinking about this from a wholesale standpoint.
yeah.
If someone wanted to buy an infill lot in an area that's very desirable, a builder or someone's got to take a look at that, but also the builder's got to look for these deals themselves. So they're also kind of looking at getting it for, pennies on the dollar, so to speak. So if I'm a wholesaler and I'm trying to lock up an infill lot at a price which is good for a builder, how do I know what to base my, comps off of? Because the stereotypical thing for wholesalers when we're looking at fix and flips is 70% of ARV minus repairs. So is it a formula like, well, I know what it's going to cost to build this home, whatever cost is for it. And then I know, what people are paying for homes in the area. So if I'm able to get this lot for less than all in the cost of homes in the area, minus the build cost, then I should be okay. Or is it more complex than that?
No, I mean that's a pretty good handle on it. So from a perspective of like real time numbers, what we look at is generally not going above 20% of the finished product. So for us, and we do a lot in the workforce housing arena, which that price point is anywhere from like 285 to 335, depending on the neighborhood. For us, 50,000 for the lot is really kind of the top end of where we are willing to pay. But that is including, if we have to do tap fees and things of that nature, which they vary per, permitting office and municipality, but just as like a benchmark, generally about $4,000 for a water and sewer tap. And so we kind of back out of that. Like if 50 is a shovel ready lot where we're ready to rock and roll and we don't have to pay for those type of things, then that's the top of it for our particular product. But that 20% mark gives you a little bit of a wiggle room. So you can go up if you think the area is going to increase, or you adjust down based off of what the comps are telling you.
And so are you working with investors and meaning they're hiring your company out to do a lot of these new builds? Are you doing a lot of the new builds and then owning them yourself? Is a little bit of both?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We do deal with investors in the renovation more so than the new construction. But as investors ourselves, we build a lot of new construction. And we do retain some of them for our own personal portfolio, as well as just selling them on the open market
Do
to
you
home buyers, not necessarily investors, but just your typical, buyer.
do you think there's a way for someone who's starting out getting into real estate investing? I'm not sure how much money they might have, but they're looking at different strategies and they're thinking, well, I hear flips are a little bit more difficult now. Maybe margins are a little bit less. And if someone's going to put a bunch of money into a home and they're looking at a rehab versus a new build, they're going to go new. How can I get into infill lots and new builds? Is there a way for someone who's starting out to get into this, or you kind of got to work your way up?
Um, so I think both, right? Like if real estate, one of the most desirable things about real estate really is that you can create your own destiny. There's so many options. There's so many ways to do things. And if I were newer and coming into it and flips are a little bit tight, like you said, the margins are a little bit tighter. And I was trying to get into new construction, I would 100% find partners and people who had the experience that I did not have, and then partner with them and do some sort of JV because, um, you know, uh, new construction is easier from the perspective of the actual build out, right? Because you're not retrofitting problems and trying to do all those things and undoing and then redoing. But there still is room for error. And so you want to have people that have experience and can talk you through that and help you and hold your hand for sure.
That's for sure. I mean, as a flipper yourself, you know that as soon as you take up, the subfloor, now you're looking at the foundation, you're like, what is even this? In some cases, and then based on the decade that you're in, here's the problems which are likely, and the wiring is going to be, maybe, or the foundation, or however thick the whatever, right? This is not my area of expertise, but I've seen it. So to your point, yeah, it's a lot to undertake. I'm curious to get your perspective, right? No one has a crystal ball per se, but your perspective on maybe the next, 6, 12 months, maybe year and a half, how things might change, because we've seen going from flips to a lot of people doing new builds. Are we going to see a lot of people getting into new builds? It doesn't seem that easy for me. I'm like, well, you got to have a lot of knowledge base. Are we going to see more people doing new builds?
Um, I think if the right partnerships are formed, absolutely. I truly believe, as do a lot of the people in our network and where we live and work here, that the local investors are really going to be the ones that help to stabilize the housing market. There's so many things going on, right, that are just awry, that are impacting what is happening to the housing industry. And there's just too many to list because it's all just sort of everything came to a head simultaneously, right? We came out of COVID and then you have the baby boomers and, they're not moving and there's so many different things happening. Um, I really think that new construction will continue on. I know the larger builders have contracted some, given that the rates have not adjusted and, there's still some concern from the buyer's perspective.
Right.
I think one of the largest things that we are struggling with is that people keep waiting for the interest rates to drop. When in reality, I don't think that we're going to see the rates as low as we saw during COVID. I think that was like an artificial situation. So waiting for that continued rate to hit, I think is a mistake. I think you have to deal with the reality of where we are, whether you're a buyer or an investor, and kind of make decisions based off of that. With that being said, though, I do think that the housing market, if we even have a slight decline in interest rates, will probably then be offset by the amount of people coming into the market. So any gains that buyers have had with prices declining and softening a little bit are going to be overtaken when you get sort of everybody jumping back into the market. And
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have a frenzy like we did during COVID, where things were just
Everyone was
sort of
buying, yeah.
off the rails with people making offers. But
Yeah.
I do think that it's going to ratchet back up if we hit anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5, 6% and stay steady there. I think that's a good place from an overall staying power and interest rate for everyone involved.
I know there's a lot of real estate developers, investors, people who are hoping for the same thing. Rachel, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go to get in touch with you, learn more about your business?
Yeah. So if an investor is looking for a construction company or even consulting on what kind of finishes, what kind of floor plan, things of that nature, we have two ways to get a hold of us. Number one is through our consulting company called Intentional Property Advisors. And we work with existing and new investors to help them kind of figure out what their path is and help them roadmap it out so that they can get to their goals, or Practical Luxury Builders, which is the construction arm of our company.
Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the show here today. Congrats on all your success and to your continued success.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.